Every single one of us in this room was born with a gift. Not a paycheck, not a job title, not a shortcut, just potential. And the truth is, potential don't pay the bills, potential don't change your life, potential don't feed your family. What changes your life is what you do with it. Too many people out here waiting for somebody else to put them on, waiting for luck, waiting for the right connection, waiting for a miracle. But let me tell you something, waiting never made anybody rich, waiting never built anybody strong, waiting never created a legacy. The only real investment that can flip your whole life is the investment you make in yourself. Your mind, your time, your health, your discipline, your circle, your faith, and your own vision. Everything else fades if you don't pour into that first. You can lose money and make it back. You can lose people and meet new ones, but if you lose yourself, you lose everything. So today, I'm here to remind you, the only way to change your life is to stop betting on luck, stop betting on others, and start betting heavy on yourself. Acknowledge is currency. Most people think money is the only thing that could move them forward, but the truth is, money without knowledge disappears fast. Money without wisdom is just paper in your hand that burns out the moment you spend it. Real wealth begins with what you know, how you think, and the way you apply that understanding in the world. The richest people walking this earth didn't start with stacks of cash. They started with an idea, a skill, a vision, and the knowledge to flip that into something bigger. Every book you read, every lesson you take, every experience you pay attention to adds to your account. You might not see it the same way you see numbers in a bank, but when you carry knowledge, you carry a currency that nobody can steal from you, that doesn't inflate, and that doesn't lose value when the market shifts. It grows, multiplies, and gives you the tools to create more resources out of thin air. The problem is, too many people treat learning like school. They stop the moment they graduate. They think knowledge is tied to grades, to classrooms, to some teacher at the front. But life is the real classroom, and the lessons keep coming whether you study or not. If you ignore them, you stay broke, not just in your pockets, but in your mind. But if you embrace them, if you keep studying, observing, and soaking up game from everywhere you can, then your whole perspective shifts. You see opportunities where others see nothing. You figure out solutions where others hit dead ends. You turn setbacks into setups because you got the wisdom to navigate through storms. That's the difference between someone stuck in the same cycle for years and someone breaking through to the next level. Knowledge is currency because it pays interest forever. Think about it like this. If you spend money on material things, they lose value quick. That car you buy drops in price the moment you drive it off the lot. That outfit fades, that chain loses shine. But the money you put into knowledge, the books you read, the seminars you attend, the mentors you learn from, the skill sets you build, that's compounding. It keeps building on itself. You learn one thing and it connects to another. You pick up a skill, then you stack another skill on top. Soon you're not just working jobs, you're creating opportunities. You're not begging someone to hire you. You're building something that pays you. That's the power of seeing knowledge as a currency. People who never invest in themselves stay trapped because they believe money is the starting point. They'll say, I can't do this until I got money. But the truth is, money comes after you gain knowledge. If you're waiting for capital before you move, you're already late. The real capital is your mind. It's your ability to take what you know and apply it in ways that create value. You don't need thousands to start. You need the right mindset, the right game plan, the right execution. And all of that comes from knowledge. Once you understand that, you stop chasing quick money schemes and start chasing wisdom, skills, and understanding. You stop trying to look rich and start learning how to actually build wealth. Knowledge doesn't only come from books, though books are powerful. It comes from experience. It comes from failure. It comes from conversations with people smarter than you, people who've been where you're trying to go. It comes from studying industries, studying history, studying culture. It comes from paying attention to your own life, your mistakes, your patterns, and asking yourself why things happen the way they do. Every moment is a chance to learn, but you got to be open to it. Too many people close their minds because they think they already know enough. They want to skip the learning and jump straight to the earning, and that's why they keep falling back to zero. You ever notice how people can win the lottery and be broke again in a few years? It's because they had money but no knowledge. They didn't know how to manage it, multiply it, protect it. Compare that to someone who started from nothing, built skills, learned how to invest, how to market, how to grow a brand, how to adapt to change, Even if you take away their money, they'll bounce back because the knowledge is still with them. You can strip a man of his possessions, but you can't strip him of what he knows. That's why knowledge is the real wealth. That's why it's the only currency that can't be stolen, only shared. And the beauty is, once you invest in knowledge, it pays off in ways you can't even measure at first. You don't just get better at making money. You get better at making decisions. You get better at handling relationships, at protecting your energy, at spotting opportunities before they even fully form. You get sharper in conversation, more confident in your moves, more disciplined in your habits. Knowledge rewires you from the inside out. It's not just about learning facts, it's about shifting your mindset so you approach life with more clarity and purpose. The world keeps changing, technology evolves, industries shift, and if you're not learning, you're falling behind. That's why the richest people stay students forever. They don't settle, they don't assume they know it all. They keep upgrading their minds the same way you upgrade software. If your phone needs updates to stay relevant, why don't you? That's the mentality that separates those who grow from those who get left behind. So when I say knowledge is currency, I'm not speaking in metaphors. I'm telling you that every page you read, every conversation you engage in, every class you take, every lesson you absorb, is money in the bank for your future. It might not look like dollars today, but it's building the foundation for the dollars you'll make tomorrow. And when you stack that knowledge long enough, you move from being a consumer to a creator, from being someone waiting for opportunities to someone who creates them, from being someone hoping for change to someone making change happen. Time is equity, and most people don't even realize how expensive their time really is. You wake up every morning with a deposit of 24 hours in your account, and once it's gone forever. You can make back money you lose. You can replace material things. You can rebuild relationships, but you can never rewind time. That's why how you choose to spend your hours determines the kind of life you end up living. If you waste it, you're throwing away the most valuable resource you'll ever have. If you invest it, you're building something that multiplies long after the clock strikes midnight. People who understand this move differently. They guard their schedule the way others guard their bank account, because they know every wasted hour is stolen potential. Most of us underestimate what a single focused hour can do. 1 hour dedicated to learning, to planning, to creating can shift the direction of your entire week. But we trade those hours away for distractions, scrolling endlessly, arguing about nothing, chasing validation that doesn't build us up. It's easy to waste time because it doesn't send you a receipt. It doesn't give you a notification saying you just lost 3 hours. But the bill comes later when you look back at months or years and realize you're still in the same place. That's the debt wasted time leaves you in. The flip side is that when you decide to invest your hours with intention, the compound effect kicks in. A few consistent hours stacked every day turn into mastery, into businesses, into financial freedom, into a legacy. Time is equity because it works just like ownership. Whatever you give your hours to, you're giving your life to. If you give your hours to building someone else's dream, that's what you own, a piece of their vision. If you give your hours to excuses and comfort zones, that's what you own, a life of regret and what ifs. But if you give your hours to growth, to discipline, to chasing something bigger than yourself, then that's what you start owning, a life of purpose, power, and results. Look around at anybody successful and you'll see a pattern. It wasn't just money, it wasn't just talent, it was how they chose to spend their time when nobody was watching. While others were sleeping in, they were studying. While others were complaining, they were building. While others wasted weekends, they were planting seeds. That's why they reaped harvests others can't even imagine. The trap is thinking you got more time than you do. You tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow, I'll grind next month, I'll get serious when the new year comes. But time doesn't wait for your excuses. Every day you delay is a day gone forever. People love to say life is short, but the truth is, life is long if you use it right and painfully short if you don't. You could spend 10 years living on autopilot, working jobs you hate, hanging out with people who drain you, and at the end look back wondering where it all went. Or you could spend those 10 years focused, intentional, hungry, and come out with skills, wealth, freedom, and experiences that most people only dream about. The choice is in your daily hours. And here's the thing, discipline with time doesn't mean you never relax. It means you decide what you want most over what you want now. It means you start seeing time as an investment portfolio. Every hour you put into health, into learning, into building relationships, into working on your goals is like buying stock in your future self. Some investments grow slow, some grow fast, but all of them add up. Every hour you waste on distractions, on gossip, on fear is like burning your money on things with no return. When you really start treating your time like equity, you stop letting people waste it. You stop giving energy to nonsense. You stop saying yes to everything just to please others. You realize every yes to the wrong thing is a no to the right thing. People often think success is about luck or connections, but most of it is about how you spend your time day by day. That's why two people can start with the same resources and end up in completely different places. One spends their time watching, the other spends their time working. One spends their time complaining, the other spends their time creating. One spends their time wishing, the other spends their time learning. 10 years later, the gap is massive and people call it luck when really it was daily deposits of time invested wisely. Time also forces you to deal with priorities. You can say something matters to you, but if your time doesn't reflect it, it's just talk. You say you want to get healthy, but you don't give your hours to working out or eating right. You say you want to be successful, but your hours go to distractions. You say you want better relationships, but your hours are spent everywhere else. Time exposes truth. You can't hide from your schedule because your life is built by where your time goes. If you're serious about changing your life, the first thing you got to master is your calendar. Not money, not status, not connections, your hours. Because once you learn how to direct time toward growth, everything else follows. You get healthier because you put in the time to take care of your body. You get smarter because you put in the time to read, study, and learn. You get wealthier because you put in the time to build skills, make moves, and create opportunities. You get peace because you put in the time to protect your energy and heal your mind. It's all about time, and how you spend it decides how far you go. Health is wealth, but most people don't realize that truth until their health starts slipping away. You can chase money, chase success, chase recognition, but if your body breaks down, if your mind collapses, if your spirit is drained, everything else loses meaning. What's the point of stacking millions if you can't even enjoy it because you're too sick, too tired, too stressed to live? What's the point of building a name if you can't even get out of bed without pain? The foundation of every achievement, every dream, every hustle is your health. Without it, nothing lasts, and with it, even the biggest obstacles feel lighter to carry. Most people think of health only when it's in crisis. They wait until their body forces them to pay attention, until the stress sends them to the hospital, until their energy is gone and their spirit is crushed. But real wealth is built when you make health a priority every single day. When you understand that your body is your first business, your first investment, your first home. You only get one body to carry you through this life, and if you treat it cheap, you end up paying an expensive price. The wealthy mindset isn't just about stacking cash, it's about stacking energy, stacking strength, stacking clarity. Because when you're energized, when your mind is sharp, when your spirit is light, you move through the world with power, and that power attracts opportunities and longevity. Think about it, discipline with your health creates the discipline that flows into every other area of your life. Waking up early, hitting the gym, eating clean, getting enough rest, protecting your mental space. These are not small habits. They're seeds that grow into entire lifestyles. The same focus you use to put your health in order is the focus you'll use to build businesses, to grow relationships, to chase your vision, neglect your health. And the lack of discipline bleeds into your finances, your work, your relationships. A weak body makes for a weak foundation, and a restless mind makes for restless decisions. But when you prioritize health, you're telling yourself you deserve longevity, you deserve strength, you deserve clarity, and that belief carries into everything you touch. Health is wealth because it gives you freedom. Imagine having all the money in the world but being chained to medication, chained to hospital visits, chained to a body that won't move. That's not freedom, that's bondage. True wealth is being able to travel when you want, play with your kids without getting winded, chase your passions with full energy, live without pain holding you back. Every time you work out, every time you eat something nourishing, every time you give your body rest, you're depositing into an account that pays you later with freedom and joy. It's the same with mental health. Protecting your peace, saying no to toxic people, managing your stress, practicing gratitude. These things don't look like money in your hand, but they're priceless in the long run. And then in spiritual health, the part people overlook because it doesn't show up on a medical chart, your spirit, your purpose, your connection to something greater than yourself. That's what keeps you grounded when life shakes you. You can have a strong body and a sharp mind, but if your spirit is empty, you'll still feel broke inside. Spiritual health means aligning with values, having faith in your vision, finding meaning in the grind. Is what gives your life depth and direction. Without it, all the success feels hollow, all the money feels shallow, and all the achievements fade quick. Health in every dimension, body, mind, spirit, is the ultimate wealth because it gives you not just more years, but better years, fuller years. The challenge is that prioritizing health requires sacrifice, and most people avoid that. They want shortcuts, quick fixes, pills that solve everything, diets that last a week, motivation that fades in a day. But real health is built the same way real wealth is built. Daily habits, consistency, long-term vision. It's not glamorous to drink water instead of soda, to wake up early and run instead of staying up late partying, to cook at home instead of eating fast food, to meditate instead of scrolling endlessly. But those boring choices stack up into extraordinary results. They keep you alive longer, sharper, happier, freer. Look at communities where life expectancy is short, where disease runs high, where stress is constant. You see how poverty and poor health are always connected. That's not by accident. When people are too sick, too tired, too drained, they can't focus on growth. Their energy is spent surviving, not thriving. But when you flip that and start investing in health, suddenly you create a ripple effect. You think clearer, so you make better financial moves. You feel stronger, so you work harder with more energy. You stay calmer, so your relationships improve. Health multiplies everything you touch. That's why it's wealth. Too many people believe taking care of their health is optional, something they'll do when they have time. But if you don't make time for your health now, you'll be forced to make time for illness later. If you don't invest in your health while you're young, you'll spend your old age paying medical bills and wishing you had moved differently. Prevention is cheaper than treatment. Consistency is easier than recovery. Every hour you put into your health is an investment that pays dividends you can't put a price on. So when you think about wealth, don't just think about money stacked in an account. Think about your energy levels, your ability to wake up with focus, your peace of mind, your ability to move through the world free and strong. That's wealth. That's type of equity that money can't buy and nobody can steal. Distractions are the silent killers of progress. They don't show up loud and dangerous. They creep in quiet, stealing your focus one small piece at a time until you look up and realize months have passed and you're still standing in the same place. It could be your phone lighting up every 5 minutes, social media dragging you into endless scrolling, people pulling you into drama that doesn't even matter, old habits that eat your energy but give you nothing back. These distractions don't feel heavy when they happen, but when they add up, they weigh down your whole future. Every second you give them is a second you'll never get back, and the longer you feed them, the harder it is to break free. That's why discipline becomes the shield, the weapon, and the structure that allows you to build something solid out of your time and energy. Discipline is not about punishing yourself for living like a machine. It's about taking control of your choices so your future is designed, not accidental. People love to say they want success, they want change, they want a better life, but their actions are scattered everywhere because distractions own them. You can't build consistency if you're constantly getting pulled off your path. You can't master a skill if every time it gets uncomfortable, you escape into something easy. You can't transform your life if you're letting people, habits, and environments steer you in circles. Discipline is the decision to stay locked in, even when the distractions call your name, even when your feelings tell you to quit, even when comfort whispers that tomorrow is fine. The reason distractions are so dangerous is because they don't always look negative. Some look harmless, even fun, even justifiable. You tell yourself you deserve a break, and that break turns into hours gone. You tell yourself one quick scroll won't hurt, and suddenly the day is wasted. You convince yourself you'll start fresh on Monday, but Mondays pile up into years. Distractions disguise themselves as relaxation, as entertainment, as temporary escapes, but really they're thieves stealing your destiny. Discipline is the filter that lets you separate what feeds you from what bleeds you. It's the voice that says no when temptation says yes. It's the habit of choosing your long-term vision over short-term pleasure. Discipline isn't something you wait to feel motivated for, because motivation is temporary, but discipline is built like muscle. Every time you say no to a distraction and yes to your goals, you get stronger. Every time you follow through on your plan instead of your impulses, you build another layer of strength. Eventually, what felt hard at first becomes natural, and the distractions lose their power over you. People think discipline is restriction, but it's actually freedom. It's freedom from regret, freedom from wasted time, freedom from being controlled by things that don't matter. Discipline frees you to live on your own terms because you're no longer a slave to impulses or outside noise. And the truth is, success is boring behind the scenes. It's repetitive, it's routine, it's consistent. Distractions are exciting, they give you quick hits of pleasure, but discipline gives you lasting rewards. Most people don't reach their goals not because they don't have talent or potential, but because they never learned how to stay focused long enough to see results. They quit when it got boring, they got sidetracked when it got hard, they let their focus get hijacked by everything around them. The people who win are not the ones who never get tempted, but the ones who cut out the distractions and lean on discipline no matter how they feel. Look at anybody who has transformed their life, you'll see discipline behind it. The artist who mastered their craft spent hours in the studio instead of wasting nights partying. The athlete who became great spent early mornings training while everyone else slept in. The entrepreneur who built the empire spent weekends building instead of wasting them. It's always the same equation: fewer distractions, more discipline, consistent progress. It's not magic, it's not luck, it's choices stacked day after day. But cutting distractions doesn't just mean deleting apps or saying no to parties. It also means cutting people who keep you stuck, cutting environments that pull you down, cutting habits that drain you. It's not always easy because distractions often come wrapped in comfort or relationships you're used to, but growth requires separation. You can't take everyone and everything with you. Some things have to be left behind so you can build the discipline to move forward. That's where most people fail. They're afraid to cut what's holding them back, so they stay changed. But discipline is not only about what you start doing, it's about what you stop allowing. Discipline also builds identity. When you repeatedly choose focus over distractions, you start seeing yourself differently. You're no longer the person who quits halfway, you're the person who follows through. You're no longer the person who wastes time, you're the person who values it. That identity shift is powerful because once you see yourself as disciplined, your standards rise. You demand more from yourself, you settle less, you hold yourself accountable. And once your identity is built on discipline, distractions lose their grip because they don't align with who you are anymore. The reality is life is going to throw distractions at you nonstop. There will always be something easier than working on your goals, always something more entertaining than grinding in silence, always someone trying to pull your focus, but you get to choose. You get to decide whether you want to spend your life being entertained or whether you want to spend it being fulfilled. You get to decide whether you want to keep starting over or whether you want to push through until you finish. Every choice adds up. Every moment of discipline builds the structure for your future. Every moment of distraction tears it down. The people you surround yourself with shape the direction of your life more than most realize. Energy is contagious. Mindsets are contagious. Habits are contagious. And the circle you keep will either pull you forward or hold you in place. You can have all the drive in the world, but if you stay around people who are stuck, people who are satisfied with mediocrity, people who don't dream beyond their comfort zones, their influence starts weighing on you. Before you know it, you're slowing down, shrinking your vision, second guessing yourself because their energy has become your environment. That's why expanding your circle isn't just about making new friends. It's about making sure you place yourself around people who inspire you, challenge you, and push you to grow beyond your limits. When you keep the same circle for years and nothing changes, it should tell you something. If the conversations never go beyond gossip, if the moves never go beyond comfort, if the ambitions never go beyond the weekend, then you're trapped in repetition. Growth requires friction. It requires being around people who are already operating on a higher level, who see the world differently, who make you feel uncomfortable in your excuses. That discomfort is not a threat, it's a mirror showing you where you can elevate. Too many people fear outgrowing their circle because they don't want to lose connection, but the truth is you're not betraying anyone by growing. You're betraying yourself if you don't. Expanding your circle means seeking mentors, not just friends. It means putting yourself in rooms where you might not be the smartest, where you might not be the most accomplished, but where you can soak up game and learn. Iron sharpens iron, and if you're the sharpest blade in the room, you'll eventually dull out. because there's nothing to sharpen against. When you step into environments where people are building, creating, and thinking bigger than you, your vision naturally expands. You hear conversations about investments, opportunities, strategies, and suddenly the things you thought were impossible start sounding normal. That shift is priceless because it trains your mind to think bigger. But expanding your circle also requires discernment. Not everyone who looks successful has the right energy for your growth. You don't just chase status or clout, you chase alignment. You want people whose values line up with progress, whose actions match their words, whose presence makes you want to level up, not fake it. Real connections are not about networking for advantage. They're about mutual elevation. You bring value, they bring value, and together you both rise. If you only take and never give, you'll be exposed quick. But if you bring discipline, integrity, and vision to the table, the right circle will welcome you and help you grow faster than you ever could alone. The danger of staying in the wrong circle is it normalizes mediocrity. If everyone around you is comfortable staying the same, you start to think that's acceptable. If everyone around you is drowning in negativity, you start absorbing it without realizing. If everyone around you is wasting time, you start wasting it too. Human beings adapt to their environment, and your circle is your environment. That's why people who leave toxic surroundings often change dramatically. They finally broke free from a cage they didn't even know was there. Expanding your circle is about creating a new cage. One that's too big for comfort zones and too strong for excuses. And sometimes expanding your circle doesn't even mean finding new people right away. It can start with expanding what you consume. Reading books from people who built empires, listening to podcasts from thinkers and leaders, watching interviews with visionaries. All of that feeds your mind and puts you in conversation with people you might not know personally, but can still learn from. That knowledge shifts how you think. And when you think differently, you start attracting different people in real life. Energy meets energy. And once your mindset levels up, your circle naturally shifts because people who don't match that frequency start falling away. It's also about accountability. When you're in a circle of people who are serious about their goals, you can't hide. You can't slack without feeling the pressure. You can't settle without someone calling you out. You can't talk big and deliver small without losing respect. That accountability is gold because it forces you to stay disciplined. In a weak circle, nobody cares if you fail because it makes them feel better about their own failure. In a strong circle, your success is expected and your consistency is demanded. That pressure makes you grow even when you don't feel like it. Expanding your circle can feel lonely at first because it often means stepping away from people you've known for years. But you have to decide what matters more, comfort or growth. Staying in the wrong circle feels safe, but it keeps you trapped. Moving into new circles feels uncomfortable, but it opens doors you never imagined. It's about valuing your future enough to risk that temporary discomfort. People who really care about you will understand, and the ones who don't will reveal themselves. Either way, you win because you're stepping into a space where your vision can breathe. When you surround yourself with builders, with dreamers who execute, with disciplined grinders, you absorb that energy. You start matching their habits, picking up their perspectives, adopting their pace. And when you grow, you become the kind of person who inspires others too. That's the cycle. Expand your circle, grow from it, then become a light for others to expand theirs. That's how communities elevate. That's how legacies are built. And that's how you make sure you never get trapped in the same cycle of mediocrity. Betting on yourself relentlessly means refusing to wait for outside permission to move, refusing to let doubt sit in the driver's seat, refusing to gamble your future on the approval of other people. Most people talk themselves out of their own greatness before the world even gets a chance to see it. They think they need validation. They think they need the perfect circumstances. They think they need somebody to come save them. But the truth is nobody is coming to save you. Nobody owes you belief. Nobody owes you a chance. If you don't believe in yourself first, why would anyone else? Betting on yourself relentlessly is about deciding you're worth the risk, you're worth the investment, and you're willing to double down on your vision even when it feels impossible. The reason most people never get where they want to go is because they play it safe. They wait for guarantees before they move. They want proof before they commit. They want certainty before they risk. But there's no such thing as certainty when you're chasing something bigger. The only certainty is your own commitment. When you bet on yourself, you're stepping into the unknown with faith that your grind, your discipline, and your vision will make a way. That kind of faith scares people because it means accountability is on you. You can't blame the system. You can't blame luck. You can't blame anyone else when you decide to bet on yourself. But that's also where the power lies. Because if you're the one responsible, you're also the one who can change the outcome. Every success story starts with someone who bet on themselves when nobody else did. They took their last dollar and put it into their dream. They stayed up late working on their craft when everyone else was asleep. They kept showing up when nobody clapped, when nobody believed, when nobody cared. That's what relentless looks like. It doesn't mean you never doubt. It means you keep moving even through the doubt. It doesn't mean you never feel fear. It means you move with the fear, sitting on your shoulder but not in control of your steps. Relentless belief is built in the quiet and the grind nobody sees and the sacrifices nobody claps for. Betting on yourself is not just about chasing big goals, it's about daily choices. It's choosing to put money into learning instead of wasting it on temporary pleasure. It's choosing to show up on time for yourself the way you'd show up for someone else's job. It's choosing to create instead of consume, to build instead of complain, to focus instead of wander. Every small decision is a chip you're placing on yourself, proof that you believe your future is worth more than your comfort right now. The world is full of people who gave up because someone told them they weren't good enough, or because their first attempt failed, or because they didn't see results fast enough. That's not relentless, that's fragile. Betting on yourself relentlessly means you're in it for the long haul, that you see failure as feedback, that you treat every setback as a lesson, not a stop sign. You're not measuring success by how fast it happens. You're measuring it by your willingness to keep going no matter how many times you get knocked down. Every time you bounce back, you're proving to yourself that your belief isn't for sale, that your vision can't be broken. And when you move with that kind of energy, people notice. At first, they doubt you, they laugh, they criticize, they say you're unrealistic. But when they see you still standing after failure, still working after setbacks, still improving when most would quit, that energy commands respect. Opportunities start coming because people respect consistency more than talent. Talent without self-belief goes nowhere. But average skills with relentless self-belief can move mountains. That's the difference. You don't have to be the most gifted. You just have to be the one who won't fold. Betting on yourself relentlessly also means you stop waiting for outside validation to start. You stop thinking you need permission. You stop begging people to believe in your vision. If they don't see it, that's fine. It wasn't given to them. It was given to you. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is to execute. Once you execute long enough, the results will speak louder than anything you could have explained. The problem is most people want applause before the performance, but the real applause comes after years of work, when the vision finally shows up in the real world. If you're truly relentless, you don't need applause, you just need progress. But let's be real, it's not easy to keep betting on yourself when the odds look stacked against you. Bills pile up, responsibilities weigh heavy, people doubt you, and your own mind starts whispering, maybe they're right. That's where discipline and faith collide. You remind yourself why you started. You remind yourself what's at stake. You remind yourself that comfort zones never built legend. You keep placing the bet because the alternative, living a life of regret, wondering what could have been, is far worse than failure. At least when you bet on yourself, you know you gave it everything. At least you'll have peace knowing you stood for your vision instead of folding into someone else's. Relentless means you don't just place one bet and walk away. You keep betting again and again, reinvesting in yourself, doubling down on your skills, sharpening your craft, pushing your limits. You don't stop after the first win because growth never stops. You don't slow down after success because comfort kills hunger. You keep raising the bar, keep pushing the line, keep building brick by brick. That's what separates people who make noise for a season from people who build legacies. When you decide to bet on yourself relentlessly, you're telling the world and yourself that you are the safest investment you can make. Not the market, not a job, not someone else's opinion. Yourself. Because no matter what happens around you, you're in control of how much you learn, how hard you work, how disciplined you stay. That's the one investment with guaranteed returns if you keep feeding it. And when you finally look back years later, you'll realize every risk, every sacrifice, every lonely night was worth it because you built a life on your own terms instead of letting the world decide for you. At the end of the day, everything we've talked about comes down to one truth. Your life only changes when you decide to change it. Knowledge is your currency, time is your equity, health is your foundation, discipline is your weapon, your circle is your environment, and faith in yourself is the fuel that makes it all move. Nobody is coming to hand you the keys. Nobody is going to do the work for you. Nobody's going to believe in your dream more than you should. This is about ownership, owning your choices, owning your growth, owning your future. Investing in yourself is not a one-time thing, it's a lifelong decision. Every day you either put deposits into your growth or you let distractions rob you of it. The people who build legacies are not the ones who got lucky. They're the ones who never stopped betting on themselves, even when the odds were stacked, even when the path was dark, even when nobody clapped for them. When you walk out of here today, remember this: the only way to change your life is to invest in yourself. Bet heavy, bet consistent, and bet without fear, because you are the best investment you will ever make.